What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and somehow Disney is evolving to new levels with each passing day. However, in their case, they seem to be doing it in reverse, and it's not going well for them. This video is going to have a lot of nonsense to sift through, from their latest movies, comic creators doubling down, a radio host pandering, and how Disney is refusing to listen and will now double down even further if you can believe it. Also, I'm going to put some RoboCop Rogue City footage in this video because this game is a blast to play and it's awesome. Anyway, to start, let's look at Deadline, who has released updated stats for the Marvel's box office, which originally was projecting around 140 to 160 million by their estimates. But now it's official, the Marvels has opened to $110 million on a budget of $271 million. For those unaware how the box office works, you usually need to make double at least what your budget was in order to break even. However, when it comes to huge blockbusters, that number sometimes needs to be triple of whatever you spent on it. So the Marvels didn't just tank, it has fallen into the Marianas Trench of financial ruin, while being crushed by the sheer pressure of its own stupidity and moronic virtue signaling. The film has made less in its opening weekend than Five Nights at Freddy's, which is just sad, dude. What I honestly think that we're seeing here in real time is not the downfall of a movie, we're seeing the death of an idea. The concept of radical third-wave feminism being openly rejected by the greater populace is not something that can be ignored here. This could be an isolated incident if, say, the Marvels was only rejected in one country, but in truth, the film has bombed internationally. It's not only one country, but the entire world has ultimately rejected the existence of this film, and that's important to state here. The Marvels was supposed to be the chosen one, the blockbuster event of the year that married the qualities of feministic fury with that of the lucrative superhero genre. And it's increasingly being proven that it's not just failing, it's regressed the entire movement. Let's say that the abysmal $110 million international opening was supported largely by weirdo feminists and people who self-diagnose themselves on TikTok. That paints a clear picture to the executives and studios of the world and gives them a tangible real number value to place against that group. That 110 million is largely that woke crowd. That's them. That's not me or you likely or the general audience. That's the people who drank the Kool-Aid and want to endorse these sorts of things. And now the entire world can use this one movie as an example to say, look how little this actual modern audience is. In a way, the Marvels was a success, but like Disney, it's all in reverse. They have ultimately revealed themselves in plain and shown how small and ineffective they are to the greater economic growth that doesn't subscribe to the woke mind virus. Now studios, when they are making their movies and are looking for ways to pander, will hopefully second guess themselves and go, do we really want to make a movie for that modern audience now? The same audience that with their combined strength was unable to financially support a movie that's a part of the single greatest and most lucrative intellectual property right now in entertainment. If the Marvels, with all its baggage, connections, and star power, was unable to even become a modest success, what hope does the smaller and lesser known woke nonsense coming have? The answer is a death cry, dear viewer, that these studios need to really look at what they're making and ask themselves a simple question. Is the financial loss worth pushing the message? For years now, it has been just that, a slew of releases from studios across the board all singing in unison as their projects fail, but they do spread the constructed message of wokeness. We've seen countless comic books die almost as soon as they've been released, like the Captain Britain series from Marvel that launched in February 2023. It had a gender-swapped version of the character in the leading role, and it was only able to last 5 issues until it was axed due to abysmal sales. What we're seeing here is the entire feminism agenda, the ideology fostered within the heart of its chaos, being openly rejected by the entire movie-going audience here. This is amazing. I couldn't ask for a better response to something like the Marvels. Really, the ultimate ground zero response here is that the Marvels has successfully pushed toxic feminism back years at this point. And hopefully more studios will think twice before deciding to pander when they could be actually making money instead. Unfortunately for Disney, they feel as if they're under the control of some evil wizard, because no matter how much they lose, they seem to keep doubling down. I guess spoilers for the Marvels, if that even matters at this point, but the movie hints that Miss Marvel and Kate Bishop, who is just gender-swapped Hawkeye, are going to co-lead the Young Avengers. The three main Young Avengers right now are Miss Marvel, a character with a failed Disney Plus show that nobody watched, and stars in the biggest box office bomb in Marvel history. Then you have Kate Bishop, a gender-swapped character who's a rich girl playing dress-up, who also starred in a Disney Plus series that did fine at best. And then you have Cassie Lang, who starred in the MCU flop in the form of Quantumania that was largely rejected for being a CGI dumpster fire that was full of pointless nonsense and wasted characters like MODOK for comedic relief, which is lame to this day. So what we have here is Disney and Marvel doubling down in the wake of their immense failure that was the broader 2023 year of entertainment, and assembling three core characters nobody likes or asks for to lead a team nobody cares about in the hopes of starting a new franchise. The Young Avengers embody all the things fans have been rejecting for years, dialed into a single cacophony of virtue signaling madness. The likelihood that it does well is unlikely because ever since Disney Marvel has embraced the all-new, all-different line of comics, it's led to the abysmal failures that are phases 5 and 4. And what we need right now is course correction and a return to form, not doubling down on the things that don't work. Even Variety is running damage control with articles like this titled, "The Marvels is the rare MCU misfire that bombed on opening weekend." Even in pandemic times, Black Widow, while also streaming on Disney Plus, Shang-Chi and Eternals landed for better starts. But calling the Marvels a rare misfire and then proceeding to list a bunch of films that also didn't turn profits doesn't help. This is not a rare misfire. This is what we call a trend. Phases 4 and 5 are littered with misfires, with only films like No Way Home, Madness, Guardians 3, and Wakanda Forever actually turning profits. And in my previous video, I talked about how we were only getting one MCU film next year, which is Deadpool 3, and then 4 more films in 2025. All of those films in 2025 have been in production hell, by the way, and Captain America Brave New World is one of them. That film is having 3 major sequences reshot and completely redone because in test audience screenings, the film was reviewed horribly. Now, I don't want to get too political, but this film, I would wager at least one of those sequences involved the ill-timed introduction of Israeli superhero Sabra, a character who in the comics has said stuff like condemning the entire Palestinian populace and attacking people in rage over it. Or one infamous scene where Sabra sees a dead Palestinian boy. And the comic actually says this. For an instant, Sabra prepares to give chase. She is after all an Israeli super agent, a soldier, a weapon of war. But she is also a woman capable of feeling, capable of caring. It has taken the Hulk to make her see this dead Arab boy as a human being. Jesus Christ. It has taken a monster to awaken her own sense of humanity. Good lord, dude. Yeah, I can see why maybe one of those sequences in Cap 4 isn't going over well. Because I would bet money one of those sequences involves Sabra fighting something that resembles current-day geopolitical conflicts, and well, it's no surprise it's not going over well for them. But leave it to Disney Marvel to pander and add characters like Sabra to the MCU, only for it to backfire in a way that'll definitely not go over well with audiences when it releases. Then we have the Daily Mail, who just openly admits that the Marvels is terrible because people are sick of smug, mean, and reductive female characters. What makes this article extra hilarious to me is that the writer openly describes themselves as a Marxist, which is just virtue signaling speak to let others know that they're a communist who likely parrots whatever is politically correct. And when even the communists are tired of woke nonsense, you know you've hit a new level of rock bottom. Although the Daily Mail does try to blame the Marvels' failure on Jonathan Majors' domestic violence case, which is some acrobatic levels of mental gymnastics. But I would wager this movie's failure is much more than the fact that Kang allegedly likes to body slam women he's dating. The real reason is because the movie is the equivalent to a big pot of gray slop, and it's made for nobody. But the most exciting part about the failure of feminism in Hollywood is that hopefully its ideas get regressed and eventually fade away. After all, if we can blame anything on the uglification of female characters, it's third-wave feminism. Look at concept art of Mary Jane Watson in Insomniac's Spider-Man. She's been deliberately designed to have no curvaceous hips, bust, or anything. a far cry from what Mary Jane was during her inception. She went from being the jackpot of Peter's life to a skinny baseball bat of a woman with a chin big enough to crush diamonds. And you can blame that on third-wave feminism too. If you take anything from this video, it's that toxic feminism ruins everything it touches. And I already know someone will watch this and say that hating on things like Spider-Man 2's Mary Jane or the Marvels is some incel stuff, but it's untrue. Because men and women are both tired of this, and we need to move forward instead of turning both female and male characters into this one nebulous gender look many studios are doing these days. If Hollywood wanted to make the Marvels for their core audience, that being men by the way, which you can deny it, but it's true, they would have at least have given the movie some eye candy. Besides, seeing Brie Larson in a tank top, the actual suits are just nothing to look at. Gone are the days of Kate Beckinsale looking insanely hot in movies like Underworld. Instead, we're left with whatever the hell these outfits are today. But the MCU at this point is full of things we just don't want anymore. Captain Marvel being pushed as the replacement for Iron Man, new heroes like Sabra, or giving people like Thor a random daughter out of nowhere, it's all very lame and just unneeded. Speaking of things unneeded, let's now look at this one Disney shill whose entire existence online panders and champions. Also, don't harass this person, they've already made their entire existence revolve around Disney. And as they say, there's no cure for mental illness such as this. Anyway, this person's name is Alden Diaz, who runs some radio show. Alden decided to blame the failure of the Marvels on male fans, and specifically those who are conservatives. That's a bold claim, dear viewer, but let's hear what he's got to say for himself. Alden said, and I quote, "Any reporting on the Marvel's box office that doesn't mention the fact that its stars were on strike and unable to promote it at all is incomplete and irresponsible at best. Promotional materials have immense value. That stuff helps build movie-going experiences now. That's the first thing that should be included, but there are others. The ongoing right-wing grift hate campaign against its top-billed performer. The new storm of false bullshit surrounding its director, the fact that it's a more diverse film than the first one. The fact that one of the shows it follows underperformed on streaming except in people of color households. Because of general misogyny, Islamophobia, people not taking teenage girls seriously, and getting sent out to die against legacy Star Wars shows like Obi-Wan Kenobi. The fact that this is the first project taking the specific bullet of parts of the build-up were behind a paywall. It won't be the last thing to experience this for Marvel and Lucasfilm, for Disney overall, or for Hollywood in general, but of course it has to be the film starring a diverse trio of women directed by a black woman that goes out and deals with this landscape first, not Cap 4 or the Filoni Star Wars film or Avengers or anything else that will surely have to climb this hill. The fact that box office numbers have largely taken a hit in general, that's just been a reality post-COVID. Outside of some instances like Barbenheimer, a ton of stuff has underperformed, comic book and otherwise, like Dead Reckoning, even Guardians 3 dipped from 2. I could go on, the whole conversation is mostly stupid and it further plays into the "what have you done for me lately" attitude from internet fans about this franchise. It'll be dead, then back, then dead, then back, depending on what people like about and what narrative they want. This will be Marvel's Solo: A Star Wars Story, inasmuch as people will harp on the box office forever without ever really discussing the film, and none of them will even consider context when breaking it down, like Bob Iger admitting fault for Solo's release window." End quote. Well, we call what Alden Diaz said here in the biz as cope, my friends. Lots of it. Even Yellow Flash had to put on the doctor's hat and prescribe Alden some much needed meds to go with his virtue signaling. I can't imagine coping and bending over backwards for Disney that much. It's embarrassing. It's incredible the lengths these people will go to in order to explain how this film has failed this horribly. Alden and others like him will blame everything except the real reason why. It's right-wing grifters' faults, it's men's faults, it's the pandemic's fault somehow. This is because people have to watch multiple things before watching this, and that's why it didn't work. Yeah, okay, Alden, if that's the case, then Civil War should have flopped. So should have Endgame and Infinity War. Why did No Way Home make over $1 billion? You have to watch 2 Spider-Man movies, 2 Avenger flicks, and Civil War for context. So let me get this straight. All of those movies which are upheld to the same standards and regulations as your beloved girl power movie all succeeded. But now those same reasons don't apply here because your feminism movie failed. Yeah, that's coat buddy, no other way to put it. And the part where Alden blames audiences not accepting a trio of women and then saying it's directed by a black woman is something I already spoke on. And like I said previously, I guarantee you that 95% of your movie-going audience or more has no idea who the hell is behind the camera anyway, especially when it comes to the MCU. And if we applied this same logic that people reject things made by black women, then again, why did Quantumania fail when it was directed by a straight white guy? Why were shows like Falcon and the Winter Soldier underperforming when they star two characters people like in the MCU? Why does any movie fail? Is it because of the color of the director's skin? Or could it maybe be that whatever's being made that fails is just not resonating with their consumer base? The trio of women part is only right in the sense that nobody really knows who the hell Miss Marvel or Photon are prior to this. Could it be that the entire planet is racist because every market is somehow biased towards this one movie? Or could the likely scenario be that nobody in the world seems to have cared about it? You tell me. Because then if right-wing grifters like Alden says are to blame, then why did India and China ignore this movie as well? Why did the woke-infested lands of Canada and America also largely ignore and reject this movie too? When even the people it's being made for aren't willing to get up and support the things they champion, what are we even doing here? Why does this exist to begin with? Alden is a corporate shill. He's pandering to ensure his Disney overlords see him running damage control. So when the next slop on Disney Plus arrives, Alden is given a treat and patted on his head by Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy, so he can get more exclusive access to their latest misfires. And like I've been saying, Disney is just doubling down on this crap going forward. We're getting a diverse young Avengers, and they're apparently also making a sequel to Eternals, which flopped both commercially and critically. The only reason Eternals gets a sequel is because Disney's ESG score is slipping, and they need to keep those numbers up. Otherwise, it makes zero sense, because why would a billion-dollar studio be making a sequel to a movie that lost them hundreds of millions already? Anyone with a slight sense in business would tell you that it's a moronic decision to pursue. If I have a video that underperforms, is it the audience's fault, or did I not resonate with the audience? The answer to that, by the way, is that it's my fault, because I'm the person who made the video. Instead of doing more of what doesn't work, you course correct. You assess the situation, you look at what you did and critically come to a conclusion as to why things went the way they did. You never blame the audience for your failure. Nothing I do or if I underperform is your fault. Every misstep, every course correction or bit of information gathered and assessed is due to my own failures, and then I learn from them. Disney is doing the opposite of what I would do here. They're instead saying, no, you're wrong, you need to change, and that they don't have to. And that's how you end up driving your brand into the ground. In YouTube terms, what Disney is doing to themselves is akin to what Boogie did to his own reputation or Ethan Klein. You attack your fans, you call them idiots, you pander to people for the simple reason to get in their good graces. But the moment you slip up, those people will devour you whole. It's why that one line keeps ringing true, which is that the left devours itself, because they do. They always do. And what we're seeing ultimately is like what I said earlier in this video. The Marvels and what's happening around it is the death of an idea. The death of an era of mismatched, underperforming virtue signaling that is blowing up in catastrophic fashion. The Marvels has regressed toxic third-wave feminism, and while Disney will likely not admit defeat, all we can keep doing is keep voting with our wallets. Dear viewer, the result of this movie's performance is a combined effort of my voice, the people who make stuff like me, and the millions of you out there who are just as sick of this shit as we are. So I want to end this video by simply reassuring you in your continued efforts. Dear viewer, you are winning, and you should be very proud of what you've accomplished. So please take care of yourselves, drink water, get plenty of exercise, and keep voting with those wallets. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day. Subscribe and like the video if you wanna. Thanks to my patrons as always, and if you'll excuse me, I got some RoboCop to play. I'll see you in the next one.